Hello, my name is Sarah, and I'm about to tell you the most shocking story of family betrayal and the sweetest revenge I never saw coming. Picture this. You're sitting at your childhood dinner table, thinking you're there for a casual Tuesday night family meal, when suddenly legal documents slide across the maple surface toward you. Your name is already typed in as a co-signer for $40,000. The trap has been set, the players are in position, and you're the unsuspecting prey. But here's the twist they never saw coming. I had been planning my own escape for weeks. Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt favor to ask. Please subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes all the difference. What happened next will make you question everything you think you know about family loyalty, financial manipulation, and the courage it takes to choose yourself first. This isn't just another family drama. This is a masterclass in recognizing toxic patterns and executing the perfect exit strategy. I grew up in Millfield, Massachusetts, in one of those picture-perfect colonial houses with white shutters and a wraparound porch. From the outside, we looked like the American dream. Two successful parents, my dad Robert working as a bank manager, my mom Linda as a high school English teacher. My older brother Jake was the golden boy, star quarterback, homecoming king, the child who could do no wrong. And then there was me, the responsible one, the backup plan, the safety net they never acknowledged but always counted on. For 28 years, I played my role perfectly. I was the daughter who worked part-time jobs through high school, while Jake got a car for his 16th birthday. I was the one who earned a full scholarship to Boston University, while they threw Jake a going-away party for his state school admission that they were paying for in full. The signs were always there, subtle but persistent, like a low-grade fever you learn to ignore. Growing up on Maple Street, our house was the one with the perfectly manicured lawn and the family portrait updated every 2 years. Dad insisted on those photos, positioning Jake front and center while I stood slightly behind, as if even the photographer understood the family hierarchy. When Jake played varsity football at Millfield High, our garage was transformed into a shrine of trophies, newspaper clippings, and championship photos. My academic awards, honor roll certificates, science fair ribbons, debate team victories lived in a shoebox in my closet. Academics are important, Mom would say, but Jake's achievements bring the whole community together. The inequality wasn't malicious, at least not consciously. It was systematic, woven into the fabric of our daily lives, like background music you stop hearing. When Jake needed his wisdom teeth removed, they researched the best oral surgeon in Boston. When I had the same procedure, Mom drove me to the discount dental clinic and apologized about the insurance limitations. College application season revealed the starkest contrast. Jake's applications were family affairs. Mom proofread essays, Dad called his connections for recommendation letters, and they hired a consultant to maximize his chances. My applications were solo missions completed after my shifts at Murphy's Diner, fueled by leftover coffee and determination. The full scholarship to Boston University should have been a celebration. Instead, it was a footnote mentioned during Jake's graduation party planning. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said, not looking up from the party supply catalog. "Could you pick up the tablecloths tomorrow? The store closes at 6. I learned early that love in our family came with conditions and rankings. Jake's love was unconditional, celebrated, amplified. Mine was conditional, useful, expected. I became fluent in the language of low expectations and high responsibilities, translating every family interaction through the lens of my designated role. Working through college wasn't just financial necessity, it was identity. While Jake's fraternity adventures filled our family group chat with photos and stories, my updates about Dean's List achievements or research opportunities received polite acknowledgments. I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in biomedical engineering. Jake graduated with a business degree and uncertainty about his future. The pattern continued into our adult lives with mathematical precision. By age 28, I had built what looked like a successful, independent life. My corner office at Biotech Solutions overlooked Boston Harbor, complete with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that impressed visiting clients. The company specialized in medical device research, and I'd worked my way up from lab assistant to senior project manager in just 5 years. My Cambridge apartment was small, but mine. Hardwood floors I'd refinished myself, bookshelves built from reclaimed wood, and a kitchen where I actually cooked instead of surviving on takeout. Every mortgage payment, every piece of furniture, every plant on the windowsill represented a choice I'd made with money I'd earned. Jake, meanwhile, had married his college girlfriend Jessica and moved to the suburbs. Their split-level ranch in Brookline came with help from my parents for the down payment, a family investment that no one expected me to contribute to or benefit from. Jessica was lovely in that practiced suburban way, all coordinated outfits and Pinterest-perfect birthday parties for their son Tommy. Tommy turned 8 last spring, a bright kid who asked thoughtful questions and showed genuine interest in my work. I loved being Aunt Sarah, bringing him science kits and taking him to the Museum of Science when Jake was too busy with weekend golf tournaments. In Tommy's eyes, I wasn't the backup plan. I was the aunt with the cool job who knew why volcanoes erupted. The family dynamics had settled into predictable patterns. Sunday dinners at my parents' house featured Mom's pot roast and Dad's stories about his glory days coaching Jake's Little League team. Jake dominated conversations with updates about his struggling real estate business and complaints about market conditions. I contributed politely, shared selective updates about my projects, and helped clear dishes while Jessica supervised Tommy's homework. My success created an interesting dynamic. I earned more than Jake, owned property, and had savings. Achievements that should have shifted family perceptions. Instead, they seemed to reinforce my role as the reliable one. Success in their eyes meant I was even better equipped to help when needed. The requests started small. Could I help with Tommy's school fundraiser? Would I mind picking up groceries for Mom when she had the flu? Could I cover dinner at the restaurant because Jake's commission check was delayed? Each request came with appreciation and promises of future reciprocation that never materialized. I said yes because that's what good daughters do. I said yes because refusing felt selfish. I said yes because disappointing them felt worse than disappointing myself. But somewhere deep down, resentment was building like pressure in a sealed container. The breaking point came disguised as a casual invitation. "Sarah, honey, would you like to come for dinner Tuesday night?" Mom's voice carried that artificially cheerful tone she used when she wanted something. "I'm making your favorite, chicken parmesan with garlic bread." Tuesday dinner invitations were unusual. Our family operated on a Sunday schedule, with holidays and birthdays as the only exceptions. But Mom sounded genuinely excited, and I'd had a particularly stressful week debugging a critical software interface. A home-cooked meal sounded perfect. "That sounds great, Mom. What's the occasion?" "Oh, no occasion. Just feels like we haven't seen you in ages, and Jake thought it would be nice to have everyone together." Jake thought it would be nice. Red flag number 1, though I didn't recognize it at the time. Tuesday arrived with typical New England March weather, cold rain that made my commute from Cambridge feel longer than usual. I stopped at Whole Foods to pick up dessert, choosing the expensive chocolate cake because family dinners deserved special touches. Walking up the familiar front steps of 247 Maple Street, I noticed things felt different. The porch light was on despite the early hour, Mom's good curtains were drawn across the front windows, and Dad's car was positioned to block the driveway as if preventing easy escape. Mom answered the door wearing her pearl earrings, the ones reserved for church, graduations, and important occasions. Her smile seemed rehearsed, stretched too wide like she was performing for an audience. "Sarah, come in. Everyone's already here." Everyone? I'd expected just the 5 of us. Instead, the living room felt crowded. Jake sat in Dad's usual chair, scrolling through his phone with unusual focus. Jessica occupied the couch with Tommy, who was uncharacteristically quiet for an 8-year-old on a school night. Dad stood by the mantelpiece, his retirement watch catching the lamplight. The dining room table was set with Mom's wedding china, the Waterford crystal pattern she'd inherited from Grandma Rose and only used for Christmas and Easter. Cloth napkins, not paper. The good silverware that required hand washing, even fresh flowers in the centerpiece. "This looks amazing, Mom. What's the special occasion again?" Jake looked up from his phone. "Can't we just enjoy a family dinner without needing reasons?" His tone carried an edge I couldn't identify. Jessica shot him a warning look. Dinner conversation felt stilted, like everyone was reading from scripts. Mom asked about my work with unusual detail. Dad inquired about my apartment renovations he'd never shown interest in before. Jake mentioned Tommy's college fund repeatedly, each comment feeling more pointed than the last. "Education costs are just insane these days," Jake said, cutting his chicken with aggressive precision. "Tommy's only 8, and we're already looking at $40,000 minimum for a decent state school." "Planning ahead is smart," I replied, wondering why this topic required my input. "Some families start college funds when kids are born," Jessica added quietly. "We're playing catch-up." The undercurrent of tension was palpable, but I couldn't identify its source. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something, checking the clock, exchanging glances when they thought I wasn't looking. After dessert, Mom stood with unusual formality. "Sarah, honey, we need to discuss something important." Dad reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew a manila folder, placing it on the table between the dessert plates and coffee cups, like he was presenting evidence. The folder was thick, official-looking, with a First National Bank logo visible through the transparent cover. "What's this about?" I asked, though my stomach was already tightening with anticipation. Jake set down his phone for the first time all evening. "Tommy's future, his education fund." Dad opened the folder methodically, revealing documents I recognized from my own apartment hunting days. Loan applications, credit reports, co-signer agreements. My name appeared on multiple pages, typed in neat Arial font as if my consent was already assumed. $40,000, Dad said, his voice taking on the authoritative tone he'd used throughout my childhood. "The bank requires a co-signer with excellent credit and stable income. You're the obvious choice." The obvious choice. Not a request, not a favor, a foregone conclusion. I picked up the top document, scanning the terms with growing disbelief. The loan period stretched 7 years. Interest rates were higher than my mortgage. My financial information had been partially completed, though I'd never provided it. "How did you get my employment details?" I asked, pointing to a section that listed my exact salary and company information. Mom and Jake exchanged a glance. "Linda Morrison's daughter works in your HR department," Mom said, as if this explained everything. "She mentioned you'd received that lovely bonus last month." Linda Morrison, Mom's book club friend, her daughter Karen, who processed payroll at Biotech Solutions. The violation felt like a physical blow. My privacy invaded, my financial information discussed at book club meetings. "You had Karen look up my personal information?" "It's not like that," Jake interrupted. "We just needed to know if you could handle the responsibility. This is Tommy's future we're talking about." Responsibility. The word that had defined my relationship with this family since childhood. I was responsible for good grades, responsible for paying my own way through college, responsible for setting a good example. Now I was responsible for my nephew's education fund. "Why can't you co-sign for your own son's loan?" I asked Jake directly. His jaw tightened. "My credit took a hit during the real estate market downturn. The bank won't approve me as primary co-signer." "What about Mom and Dad?" Dad cleared his throat. "Retirement affects credit scores. Fixed income makes banks nervous." I flipped through more pages, noticing details that made my pulse quicken. The loan wasn't just for Tommy's education. It was structured as a personal loan with education listed as intended purpose. No guarantees the money would actually fund college savings. "This doesn't look like a traditional education fund," I observed. Banks have different products, Dad said dismissively. The important thing is securing Tommy's future. Jessica had remained silent throughout this exchange, but I caught her watching me with an expression I couldn't decipher. Not support, not opposition, something like resignation. I need time to review this, I said, closing the folder. Jake's response was immediate. The bank appointment is scheduled for Thursday morning. Everything's already arranged. Thursday. 2 days away. The timeline felt aggressive, designed to prevent careful consideration. You scheduled an appointment before asking me? We're asking now, Mom said, reaching across to pat my hand. Family helps family, sweetheart. You know we'd do the same for you. But they wouldn't, and we all knew it. When I'd needed help with my apartment deposit, I'd been told character building came from handling challenges independently. When I'd graduated with honors, they'd been busy planning Jake's mediocre graduation party. I stood up, folder in hand. I need to think about this at home. Sarah, Dad's voice carried warning, this is what families do. We support each other. The guilt was expertly applied, decades of practice behind it. But something had shifted in me during this dinner. Maybe it was seeing my name pre-typed on legal documents. Maybe it was learning my financial information had been gathered without permission. Maybe it was the assumption that my consent was guaranteed. Thursday morning, Jake repeated. 10 o'clock at First National. I nodded non-committally and headed for the door, the folder feeling heavier with each step. That night in my Cambridge apartment, I spread the loan documents across my kitchen table under the harsh fluorescent light. The terms became clearer and more troubling with careful review. This wasn't a standard education loan. It was a personal credit line disguised with educational language. The fine print revealed disturbing details. Jake would have immediate access to the full $40,000 upon approval. No oversight mechanism ensured the money would fund Tommy's education. If Jake defaulted, I'd be liable for the complete balance, plus accumulated interest and penalties. I opened my laptop and began researching. Jake's real estate business, Morrison Properties, had received multiple negative reviews online. Clients complained about delayed closings, poor communication, and questionable business practices. The Better Business Bureau listing showed unresolved complaints dating back 18 months. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Thanks for dinner tonight. Tommy's really excited about his college fund. This means everything to our family. The manipulation was subtle but clear, using Tommy's excitement to pressure my decision. An 8-year-old couldn't be excited about loan documents he hadn't seen. I called my friend Maya, a financial advisor who'd helped me navigate my mortgage process. She listened without interruption as I explained the situation. Sarah, this sounds like a debt consolidation loan disguised as education funding, she said when I finished. The terms are terrible, and co-signing makes you equally responsible for repayment. But it's family. Family status doesn't change loan mathematics. If Jake defaults, your credit is destroyed and your assets are at risk. What's his current debt situation? I realized I didn't know. Jake's financial struggles were mentioned in passing, but never detailed. For someone asking me to guarantee $40,000, I had remarkably little information about his actual financial state. Can you pull a credit report on Morrison Properties? Maya's pause felt significant. I'll see what I can find through legal channels. Wednesday morning brought 3 missed calls from Mom and 2 text messages from Dad about confirming tomorrow's appointment. The pressure campaign had begun in earnest. At work, my concentration suffered. The loan documents sat in my purse like radioactive material, impossible to ignore. During lunch, I received an unexpected visit. Jessica appeared in Biotech's lobby, looking nervous and overdressed for the casual corporate environment. I hope you don't mind me stopping by, she said as we walked to a nearby coffee shop. I needed to talk to you privately. We found a corner table away from the lunch crowd. Jessica ordered chai tea and didn't touch it. Jake doesn't know I'm here, she began. I wanted you to understand the full situation before tomorrow. My stomach dropped. What full situation? Jessica's perfectly manicured hands twisted her wedding ring. Jake's business is in serious trouble. He owes money to contractors, suppliers, clients. The $40,000 isn't really for Tommy's college fund. The confirmation hit like ice water. How much debt are we talking about? I don't know exactly. Jake handles all the financial stuff. But we've been using credit cards for groceries, and our mortgage payment was late twice this month. Why are you telling me this? Jessica looked directly at me for the first time since we'd sat down. Because you're the only person in this family who's ever been genuinely kind to Tommy. You deserve to know what you're being asked to guarantee. The loyalty shift felt momentous. Jessica, who'd remained silent during Tuesday's dinner, was breaking family ranks to warn me. What happens if I don't sign? Jake thinks you will. He's been telling people the loan is already approved, just waiting for formalities. My phone vibrated with another message from Mom. Looking forward to tomorrow's appointment. This is such a blessing for Tommy's future. The web of deception was larger than I'd imagined. Jake had been using my anticipated co-signature to convince others his financial problems were solved. My reputation was being leveraged for his credibility. Jessica, what would you do in my position? She finally sipped her chai, considering carefully. I'd protect myself first. Jake created these problems through bad business decisions. You didn't. That evening, Maya called with her research results. Morrison Properties has liens from 3 different contractors and owes back taxes to the city. Jake's personal credit score is in the low 500s. The betrayal was complete. My family had orchestrated an elaborate deception, using Tuesday's dinner as theater, while arranging to transfer Jake's financial disasters to my credit report. I made my decision that night, but not the one they expected. Thursday morning, 9:47 a.m. I sat in my Honda Civic outside First National Bank, watching my family arrive for the appointment I wouldn't be attending. Dad's burgundy Buick pulled into the parking space closest to the entrance, the power move he'd perfected over decades of asserting control. Jake emerged from the passenger side, straightening his best suit and checking his watch with theatrical precision. Mom climbed out of the back seat, clutching her purse with both hands like it contained state secrets. They stood together on the sidewalk, a picture of suburban confidence, completely unaware that their carefully orchestrated plan was about to collapse. My phone had been buzzing relentlessly since 9:30. 7 missed calls from Jake, 4 from Mom, 2 from Dad. I'd turned off the ringer and watched their names flash across the screen like a desperate light show. Instead of joining them, I was 40 miles away at Logan Airport, sitting in Terminal B with a one-way ticket to Seattle in my carry-on bag. The transfer request had been approved Wednesday afternoon with surprising speed. Biotech Solutions had been trying to staff their Seattle research facility for months, and my project experience made me an ideal candidate. Dr. Martinez, the regional director, seemed thrilled when I called about immediate availability. Perfect timing, she'd said. We have a furnished corporate apartment available, and you can start Monday if you're ready for the adventure. Adventure. The word felt foreign after 28 years of predictable family obligations. My phone vibrated with a text from Jake. Where are you? Bank manager is asking questions. I turned off the phone completely. The boarding announcement crackled through the terminal speakers. Alaska Airlines Flight 442 to Seattle, now boarding all passengers. As I walked down the jetway, I thought about the letter I'd left on my Cambridge apartment counter, addressed to my parents. It explained everything. The invasion of my privacy, Jake's real financial situation, my decision to protect my own future. I'd been respectful, but clear. Their behavior had consequences. The flight was smooth, 5.5 hours of cloud cover, and airline coffee that tasted like freedom. I'd never been to Seattle, never considered living anywhere but New England. The spontaneity felt reckless and exhilarating. Seattle's corporate apartment was in Capitol Hill, a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls and windows that actually opened. The neighborhood buzzed with coffee shops, bookstores, and people who seemed to mind their own business, a refreshing contrast to Millfield's gossipy familiarity. Friday morning brought my first day at the Seattle Biotech facility. The lab was state-of-the-art, the team was collaborative, and nobody asked about my family or why I'd relocated so quickly. Professional competence was the only currency that mattered here. My phone, turned back on for work purposes, showed 43 missed communications from Massachusetts. I deleted them without reading. The weekend was mine to explore. Pike Place Market, the waterfront, coffee shops that stayed open past 9 p.m. I bought flowers for my new apartment and books from a store where the clerk recommended authors instead of asking where I was from. Sunday evening, I video called my college roommate Rachel, who'd moved to Portland after graduation. "Sarah, you look different, happier." I was sitting by my apartment window, watching the Seattle skyline transition from day to evening. I made some changes. Good changes from the look of things. What's the story? I told her everything. The lone ambush, the invasion of my privacy, the airport escape. Rachel listened without judgment, nodding at the right moments. "I'm proud of you," she said when I finished. "That took serious courage." Courage. I'd thought of it as survival, but maybe they were the same thing. Monday at work, Dr. Martinez introduced me to the team and outlined my new projects. The work was challenging, engaging, and completely removed from family drama. My colleagues were accomplished professionals who evaluated me on merit, not history. That afternoon, I received an email from Karen Morrison in Biotech's Boston HR department. The same Karen who'd violated my privacy by sharing salary information with her mother. "Sarah, your family has been calling about a family emergency. Should I provide your new contact information?" I replied immediately. "Please refer all family inquiries to my personal email. No employment information should be shared with anyone without written authorization. Thank you." The boundary felt good to establish. Tuesday marked 1 week since the dinner ambush. I celebrated with Thai takeout and a movie, marveling at how quiet my phone had become once I stopped responding to manipulation. 3 months into my Seattle life, I'd established routines that belonged entirely to me. Morning runs along Lake Union, weekend hikes in the Cascade foothills, Thursday trivia nights at a Capitol Hill pub where I'd made friends who knew nothing about my family history. My work at Biotech Seattle was exceeding expectations. Dr. Martinez had assigned me to lead a multi-million-dollar research project developing cardiac monitoring devices, the kind of career advancement that would have taken years in Boston's more hierarchical environment. The apartment I'd found after the corporate housing ended was a converted loft in Fremont, with hardwood floors, industrial lighting, and a rooftop garden maintained by residents who actually talked to each other. My neighbors were artists, tech workers, teachers, people building lives based on their own choices rather than inherited expectations. I'd blocked my family's numbers after the first month, when their communications escalated from pleading to angry to manipulative. Mom had tried calling my work repeatedly until HR intervened. Jake had somehow found my new address and sent certified letters demanding I stop being selfish and return home to handle family responsibilities. The final straw came when Dad called my landlord, claiming I was mentally unstable and needed family intervention. Fortunately, Seattle rental laws protected tenant privacy, and my landlord, a former therapist named Marcus, recognized manipulation tactics. Family emergencies that require financial signatures usually aren't emergencies, he'd observed dryly. I'd started therapy with Dr. Chen, recommended by my health insurance. The sessions initially focused on guilt management, but evolved into deeper conversations about family dynamics, boundary setting, and identity formation. "You've been trained to believe that love equals sacrifice," Dr. Chen noted during our 8th session. "Real love doesn't require you to compromise your financial security or mental health." The revelation was both liberating and sad. Grieving the family I'd wanted while accepting the family I actually had. Maya, my financial advisor friend from Boston, visited in early summer. We hiked Mount Pilchuck and caught up over local beer in a Ballard brewery. Jake's business went into bankruptcy, she reported. Your parents had to take a second mortgage to help with Tommy's school expenses. I felt a complex mix of emotions. Sadness for Tommy's situation, vindication about my decision, guilt for feeling vindicated. Do you regret not signing? Maya asked. I considered the question while watching Mount Rainier emerge from clouds. I regret that it came to this, but no, I don't regret protecting myself. Work brought unexpected opportunities. The cardiac monitoring project was selected for FDA fast-track approval, and I was invited to present findings at a national conference. My name appeared in medical journals, establishing professional credibility independent of family connections or obligations. Dating in Seattle felt different too. I'd started seeing David, a software engineer who designed applications for environmental monitoring. Our relationship developed naturally, without family interference or commentary. He knew basic details about my background, but wasn't interested in analyzing my family dynamics or offering solutions. You seem like someone who handles her own problems, he'd said after I'd briefly explained my cross-country move. The observation felt like recognition rather than judgment. Fall arrived with spectacular foliage in the surrounding mountains. I'd planned a hiking trip to Olympic National Park when an email appeared from an unexpected source. Jessica. Sarah, I hope you're well. Tommy asks about you often. I wanted you to know that Jake's business situation forced us to move in with his parents temporarily. Mom and Dad are struggling financially after helping with our problems. I thought you should know, not to make you feel guilty, but because you deserve the truth about what happened after you left. I hope you're happy wherever you are. You deserve that. Jessica. The update was sobering, but not surprising. Jake's financial irresponsibility had created exactly the cascade of problems I'd anticipated. My refusal to co-sign hadn't caused their troubles. It had simply prevented me from becoming another casualty. I responded briefly. Thank you for the update. I hope things improve for everyone. Please tell Tommy I miss him. That evening, I sat on my rooftop garden, watching the Seattle skyline transition from day to night. The Space Needle glowed against darkening sky, ferries crossed Elliott Bay, and the sounds of the city created a soundtrack of possibility. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Saw your research article mentioned in the Portland newspaper. You're famous. The professional recognition felt earned rather than given, based on competence rather than family expectations. I'd built something real in Seattle. Career advancement, genuine friendships, financial security, and most importantly, the peace that comes from making decisions based on your own values rather than others' demands. As I write this, it's been exactly 1 year since I walked away from that loan signing appointment and chose myself first. The cherry blossoms are blooming in Seattle's parks, and I'm preparing for another hiking season in the Cascades. My life here has become beautifully ordinary. Work projects I'm passionate about, friendships built on mutual respect, and decisions made without committee approval. The cardiac monitoring device we developed received FDA approval last month, and our research team was featured in Medical Innovation Quarterly. Dr. Martinez nominated me for promotion to Senior Research Director, a position that comes with equity stakes and the chance to mentor other young scientists. David and I moved in together last fall, a decision that felt natural rather than pressured. His family welcomed me warmly during Thanksgiving, asking about my interests and career without prying into my background or expecting future favors. I still think about Tommy sometimes, wondering if he understands why Aunt Sarah disappeared. Jessica sends occasional updates. They've stabilized financially. Jake found work with a larger real estate firm, and my parents are managing their mortgage situation. The family survived without my financial sacrifice, just as I'd predicted. The guilt took months to fade, replaced gradually by something I'd never expected. Pride. Pride in recognizing manipulation, pride in protecting my future, pride in choosing courage over convenience. Dr. Chen calls it healthy self-preservation. Last week, I received a card with no return address. Inside, Tommy's 8-year-old handwriting. Aunt Sarah, I hope you're happy where you are. Mom says you moved far away for work. I want to be a scientist like you when I grow up. I cried reading those words, not from guilt, but from love for a nephew who deserves better than being used as an emotional weapon. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own well-being? Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most authentic life. Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone else find the courage to choose themselves first. The Seattle rain is starting again, gentle drops against my windows. Tomorrow, I'll wake up in a life I built through my own choices, surrounded by people who value me for who I am rather than what I can provide. That's worth more than any family approval I left behind.